Jaden and Tristan arrived at the fence late that night carrying the jewelry they had recovered from the mansion. The worker behind the counter examined everything before finally nodding. A few minutes later, he handed them a thick envelope. Jaden opened it and nearly dropped it. $8,000? The worker smirked. Split it however you want. Outside, Jaden couldn't stop grinning as he counted his share. This is unreal. Tristan laughed. Try not to spend it all in one day. Jaden tucked the money away and shook his head. No chance. The two friends went their separate ways for the evening. Over the next few days, Jaden became obsessed with planning for the future. He spent hours studying schedules, learning routines, and looking for opportunities. Every time he thought he had figured something out, he went back and checked it again. Meanwhile, life around them continued as normal. At the arcade, Brent and Aaron were playing games when Michael walked over carrying a stack of papers. "You're still on that Midnight Bandit thing?" Aaron asked. Michael nodded. "I know there's more going on." Brent rolled his eyes. "You got one lucky look at him. Let it go." Michael wasn't convinced. He spent several minutes explaining theories and ideas before Aaron finally interrupted. "Man, we're trying to have fun." Michael sighed and eventually dropped the subject. The three friends spent the rest of the evening hanging out at the arcade. Elsewhere, Candace was walking home from work when she heard someone calling her name. She turned and saw Celine jogging toward her. The two girls talked for a while before Celine invited her to an all-girls hangout. "You never come to anything," Celine said. Candace laughed. "Maybe because nobody invites me." "Well, you're invited now." Candace finally agreed. Later that afternoon, Veronica stopped by Tristan's house. Candace answered the door. "Is Tristan here?" Veronica asked. Candace shook her head. "Nope, he's off today." Veronica looked disappointed. The two girls ended up talking for nearly 20 minutes before Veronica finally left. "See you at the hangout," she said. Candace smiled. "You too." That same night, Michael ignored everyone's advice and decided to investigate on his own. Hidden in the shadows, he watched a quiet street. Hours passed. Then suddenly he spotted a familiar figure wearing the Midnight Bandit's mask. Michael's eyes widened. Finally, he stepped out and called after him. The figure turned. Before Michael could say anything, movement on the opposite side of the street caught his attention. Another Midnight Bandit. Michael froze. There were two of them. The second figure ran off into the darkness. Michael immediately gave chase. By the time he realized he had been distracted, both figures had disappeared. Breathing heavily, Michael stood alone in the rain. He couldn't believe what he had seen. Across town, Tristan returned home after changing clothes. When he walked inside, Candace looked up from the couch. "Veronica was looking for you." Tristan nodded. "I'll call her tomorrow." Candace smiled. "You seem busy lately." "Just training." Candace accepted the answer. Before heading to his room, Tristan stopped and handed her several bills. "What's this?" "Extra money." Candace stared at him. "Where did you get this?" Tristan shrugged. "A little help." Candace laughed. "Dad finally helped you out?" Tristan smiled. "Something like that." Candace shook her head but accepted the money. Once alone in his room, Tristan emptied his backpack and stared at the growing pile of cash. For a long moment, he simply smiled. Meanwhile, Jaden arrived home and tossed his bag onto the floor. He collapsed into a chair. "This is the rush I've been looking for." The next day, Candace, Veronica, and Celine spent the afternoon at the mall. The conversation eventually shifted to boys. Veronica finally admitted she liked Tristan. Candace laughed. "I already knew." Veronica turned bright red. Celine nearly fell out of her chair laughing. Later they sat down for food. Candace surprised them by paying for everyone. Celine stared. "Since when are you rich?" Candace laughed. "I'm not rich." Veronica looked curious. "Then what happened?" Candace shrugged. "Tristan helped me out." Veronica blinked. "Wow." Celine smirked. "Maybe he's secretly a millionaire." The three girls burst into laughter. Weeks passed. Then one rainy night everything changed. An incident at Jaden's workplace shocked everyone. When the situation was finally over, police were called to investigate. Questions were asked. Reports were written. The entire site was thrown into confusion. By the end of the night, nobody seemed to have answers. Afterward, Jaden drove across town. When he arrived at the hideout, Tristan was already waiting. Several large bags sat nearby. Jaden stared for a moment, then he started laughing. "I can't believe it." Tristan laughed too. Neither could. For the next hour, they counted everything. When they finally finished, both of them sat in stunned silence. The total was far larger than either expected. Jaden looked up first. "We can't be stupid." Tristan nodded, and then Tristan looked at Jaden and said, "By the way, how were you able to get those sleeping bombs?" Jaden said, "You can get your hands on anything if you put your mind to it." Tristan smirked. Then he said, "I wasn't expecting you to be down so long." Jaden looked and said, "It was only a minute or so. I had to wait until my partner was completely out cold to come and give you the heads up to take as many bags as possible, but leave a lot more than you take." The two of them laugh. Jaden looks at Tristan and says, "You see, a lot more can be accomplished with good planning. And honestly, when I saw you clear that fence and head to the back, I knew it was go time. The hardest part was not getting to you. It was waiting until you peeked your head out so my partner could notice you like we talked about and then wait for him to get on the radio to call me. After that, it was simple because all I had to do was tag along with him and delay him enough for you to kill the power and set the sleep bombs off. And honestly, if I hadn't covered my mouth fast enough, then I'd probably be sleeping as long as he did." The two of them burst out laughing again. Tristan gets up and says, "Welp, I better get going, and remember, no heist for a while." Jaden says, "Yeah, I know." Tristan gets home and is awaited by Candace. Candace says, "Tristan, where have you been?" Tristan looks and says, "Relax, I was hanging out with Jaden." Candace says, "Oh. And Veronica wouldn't shut up about you, so can you please call her already?" Tristan laughs and says, "Not just yet. I told her I'd text her about the date, and I was just about to for tomorrow." "Well, anyway, I'm tired. I'm going to bed." Tristan gets in his room and lays on his bed and texts Veronica. The next morning, Tristan woke up to a message from Veronica. "Veronica, good morning. Still recovering from that roller coaster?" Tristan smiled and texted back, "Tristan, maybe, but it was worth it." A few hours later, the two met up at the carnival. The midway was packed with people. Bright lights flashed everywhere while music echoed through the fairgrounds. Veronica laughed as Tristan tried to win her a stuffed animal at one of the game booths. "You missed again," she teased. "I was distracted." "By what?" "You." Veronica rolled her eyes and laughed. Later, they sat down at a picnic table with burgers and fries. Veronica looked at him thoughtfully. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "You've been working a lot lately." Tristan shrugged. "I guess." "Candace came into the mall with money the other day. She said you gave it to her." Tristan took a sip of his drink. "I just wanted to help out." Veronica smiled. "That's sweet, but don't overwork yourself." "I won't." "Promise?" "Promise." After lunch, Tristan bought her a giant bag of cotton candy. The two spent the afternoon riding everything they could. On the roller coaster, Veronica screamed. Tristan screamed louder. When the ride finally stopped, both of them were laughing so hard they could barely stand. As they walked through the carnival, Tristan's phone buzzed several times. Jaden calling. He looked at the screen but slipped the phone back into his pocket. "Work?" Veronica asked. "Something like that." By evening, Tristan walked Veronica home. The sun had already set, and the neighborhood lights glowed softly around them. "You know," Tristan said, "one day I'm going to buy a car." Veronica laughed. "You don't have one." "I do. I mean a nicer one." "Oh. And when I get it, I'll pick you up for our dates." Veronica smiled. "I'd like that." When they reached her front door, they stood there awkwardly for a moment. Then Veronica stepped closer. A second later, they shared a kiss. When they pulled apart, Veronica's face turned bright red. "Good night," she mumbled. "Good night." Tristan watched her disappear inside before turning around and heading home. Earlier that evening, Jaden had arrived at Tristan's house. Candace opened the door. "Tristan isn't here," I figured. "Want to wait?" Jaden hesitated. "Sure." An hour later, they were sitting in the living room eating pizza. The conversation somehow never stopped. They laughed about old stories, embarrassing moments, and people they knew. At one point, both of them stopped talking. Jaden looked at Candace. Candace looked at Jaden. Neither said anything for several seconds. Both immediately looked away. Trying to break the awkward silence, Candace smiled. "My 18th birthday is coming up." "Oh? I think I might throw a gathering here." Jaden grinned. "I'll be there." Candace smiled back. For some reason, that answer made her blush. Meanwhile, Aaron and Michael were hanging out. Michael once again tried explaining what happened during his encounter with the Midnight Bandit. "There were two of them." Aaron laughed. "Sure there were. I'm serious." "Michael, you've got to stop thinking about this." "Then what should I think about?" Aaron pointed across the mall. "How about that?" Michael looked. A group of girls was walking through the food court. A few minutes later, Aaron had somehow started a conversation with them. Before Michael knew it, they were all sitting together laughing. "See?" Aaron said. "See what?" "Normal people problems." Across town, Brent was spending his day at the skate park. While attempting a trick, he accidentally bumped into someone. Both of them tumbled onto the pavement. Brent stood up quickly. "Oh man, sorry." He froze. Celine was sitting on the ground staring at him. "You skateboard?" Brent asked. Celine quickly stood. "I don't tell people." "Why not?" She crossed her arms. "Because apparently pretty girls aren't supposed to." Brent laughed. "That's stupid." Celine smiled. "Maybe." The two spent the rest of the afternoon skating together. Later that night, Tristan finally arrived home. Jaden and Candace were still sitting together talking. Tristan grabbed a slice of pizza and sat down. "Having fun?" Candace threw a napkin at him. "Shut up." A few moments later, Tristan's phone rang. He checked the caller ID. "The fence." He answered. After listening for a few seconds, he stood up. "We've got a customer." Jaden immediately understood. As the two headed for the door, Jaden waved. "Bye, Candace." Candace tried acting casual. "Bye." After they left, Tristan smirked. "What? You like her?" Jaden nearly tripped. "What? And she likes you?" Jaden shook his head. "You're imagining things." Tristan laughed. "Sure." When they arrived at the shop, a woman was already talking to Rob behind the counter. She looked frustrated. "Someone broke into my house and stole something important." Jaden and Tristan exchanged a glance. The woman continued. "A diamond." Both of them froze. Tristan stepped forward. "What kind of diamond?" The woman described it perfectly, the same one still sitting in their possession. "My name is Rita," she said. Tristan felt his stomach drop. The mansion. Jaden looked equally stunned. After a long pause, Tristan sighed. "If I'd known who it belonged to, things would have been different." Rita studied him. "You know something?" Tristan nodded. "We still have it." Rita raised an eyebrow. "You do?" "We'll return it." Instead of getting angry, Rita surprised them. She smiled. "Then come see me tomorrow." Back at home, Candace was talking with her parents. Eventually, she mentioned the money Tristan had given her. Her father looked confused. "What money?" "The money you loaned him." "I never loaned him anything." Candace's smile disappeared. "What?" Her father shook his head. "He never asked me for money." The room suddenly felt very quiet. Later that night, Tristan returned home. He showered and changed clothes. As he walked into the kitchen to make food, Candace was waiting. She was sitting at the table, silent, watching him. Something immediately felt wrong. Everything okay? Tristan asked. Candace stood. Without saying a word, she grabbed a laundry basket and dumped it onto the floor. Dark clothing spilled everywhere. A mask, gloves, the outfit. Tristan froze. Candace folded her arms. The silence stretched for several seconds. Finally, she spoke. Is there anything you'd like to tell me? She pointed at the clothing on the floor. Midnight Bandit? Tristan's eyes widened. For the first time in a very long time, he had absolutely no idea what to say. Candace stared at the black mask, then at the gloves, then at the dark clothing, then back at Tristan. The room felt silent. Midnight Bandit? She asked. Tristan's face went pale. For the first time in months, he had no answer. Candace stood up. Tell me I'm wrong. Tristan rubbed the back of his neck. Candace, tell me. He sighed. You wouldn't understand. Candace crossed her arms. Then explain it. Tristan sat down on the edge of his bed. I didn't have a choice. You always have a choice. I needed money. You could have called Dad. Tristan immediately shook his head. No. Why? Because I'm tired of running to him every time something goes wrong. Candace frowned. He's our father. I know. Then what's wrong with asking for help? Tristan looked down. I wanted to do something on my own. Candace laughed in disbelief. Breaking into houses? At first it wasn't like that. Then what was it? Tristan looked directly at her. Jobs aren't available. The jobs that are available don't pay enough. I was tired of barely getting by. Candace stayed quiet. Then Tristan hit her with a question. You enjoyed having extra money, didn't you? Candace froze. Her face turned red. She remembered the money, the shopping, the freedom, the things she had bought. She didn't answer. Tristan noticed. That's what I thought. Candace sat down. How much money are we talking about? Without saying a word, Tristan motioned for her to follow him. They walked into his room. Tristan knelt beside a wooden chest. He unlocked it. Candace expected a few $100s, maybe a few thousand. Instead, the lid opened. Bags, stacks, bundles, more money than she'd ever seen in her life. Candace's jaw dropped. Oh my God. Tristan nodded. Yeah. Tristan. I know. How much is this? A lot. Candace couldn't stop staring. Then another realization hit her. Her eyes widened. Jaden. Tristan sighed. Here we go. Jaden is involved too. Not at first. Candace looked confused. Tristan sat on the floor. Jaden caught me. What? He was the only person besides you who figured it out. And instead of stopping you, he joined you? Tristan laughed. Basically. For nearly an hour, Tristan told her everything. The fence, the stolen items, the diamond, Rita, the mansion, Jaden, everything. Candace listened in disbelief. Every answer somehow created 3 more questions. By the time Tristan finished, she felt dizzy. Finally, she asked, So are you going to stop? Tristan hesitated. I don't know. Candace stared at him. Then came the knock. Ding dong. Both of them jumped. Candace looked toward the door. Who is that? Tristan shrugged. No idea. Candace walked downstairs. She opened the door and froze. Mom, Dad, standing there smiling. We brought your birthday gift early. Candace's stomach dropped. Behind her, she could still hear Tristan talking loudly upstairs. Mom immediately noticed something was wrong. Candace? Her face turned white. Dad narrowed his eyes. What happened? Before Candace could answer, Tristan's voice echoed from upstairs. And that's how Jaden got involved. The entire house went silent. Mom and Dad looked at each other, then at Candace, then toward the stairs. Dad slowly walked inside. Mom followed. Candace knew immediately. They heard everything. Upstairs, Tristan saw them. His heart nearly stopped. Mom looked furious. Dad looked unreadable, which was somehow worse. Nobody spoke. Finally, Tristan stood up. "I'll be in the backyard." And he walked away. Mom stared at the chest, the money, the mask, the clothing, the gloves, everything. Her face turned bright red. "Are you kidding me?" Candace winced. Dad remained silent, which scared everyone. Outside, Tristan sat on the backyard patio. 10 minutes passed. Then Dad stepped outside. The door closed behind him. Neither spoke. Finally, Tristan broke. "I'm sorry." Dad remained quiet. "I'll take the money back." Still quiet. "I know I messed up." Dad finally sat beside him. "If you needed help, why didn't you come to me?" Tristan looked away. "I wanted to find my own way." Dad sighed. "Not if that way leads to bad decisions." Tristan nodded. The words hit harder than yelling would have. The conversation lasted nearly an hour. Dad listened, really listened. Everything. The jobs, the frustration, the money, the thrill, the pressure. Finally, Dad asked, "What else made you keep doing it?" Tristan hesitated, then answered honestly, "I started liking it." Dad looked at him. Tristan continued, "I only targeted people that treated me badly. People that made life miserable. People who wouldn't even notice what was missing." Dad shook his head. "That's not how life works." "I know." Eventually, Dad stood. "I have an idea." Tristan looked up. Dad pointed at him. "Come see me later this week." "Without your mother?" Tristan laughed. "What are we planning?" Dad smirked. "Nothing illegal." "That's disappointing." Dad rolled his eyes. "Idiot." Both laughed. Then Dad added, "And stop." Tristan nodded. "Okay." As they walked back inside, Dad stopped. Tristan looked at him. Dad lowered his voice. "Your mother doesn't need every detail." Tristan blinked. "Dad?" "What?" "You always bail me out." Dad smiled. "And yet somehow you keep needing it." Both laughed. Inside, Mom immediately stood. "Well?" Dad calmly grabbed his keys. "It's handled." Mom looked confused. "How?" "It's handled." "AJ." "It's handled." Candace nearly laughed. Mom sighed. The conversation was over. The ride home was quiet. Eventually, Mom looked over. "What happened?" Dad kept driving. "Don't worry about it." "How can I not worry about it?" "I'll take care of it." Mom smiled. "That's what you always say." Dad reached over and squeezed her hand. "And that's why it works." She laughed. The rest of the drive home was peaceful. Back at the house, Candace looked at Tristan. "You're lucky." "I know. I'm still mad." "I know. You owe me answers." "I know. You keep saying that." "Because it's true." Candace rolled her eyes. Then Tristan pulled out his phone and called Jaden. "Get over here." 30 minutes later, Jaden walked through the door. Candace immediately folded her arms. "So?" Jaden froze. "Oh no. 2 midnight bandits?" Jaden looked at Tristan. Tristan shrugged. "She knows." Jaden groaned. "Great. And my parents know." Jaden nearly fainted. "What?" Tristan laughed. "Relax. The secret is safe." Jaden sat down, still shocked. Then he remembered something. His face became serious. "Rita contacted the fence." Tristan sat up. "What?" "She wants us at the mansion." Candace looked confused. "What mansion?" Tristan sighed. "It's a long story." And before Candace could stop them, the 2 midnight bandits headed out once more, straight toward Rita's mansion, where an even bigger surprise was waiting. The mansion gates slowly opened. Tristan and Jaden exchanged uneasy looks as they stepped onto the property. The diamond had been returned. Everything should have been over. Instead, Rita stood waiting for them. Beside her was her daughter, the same girl Jaden had once secretly given candy to. Jaden rubbed the back of his neck. "Please tell me she doesn't remember that." The daughter smiled. "I remember." Jaden groaned. Tristan laughed. For the first time all night, the tension eased. Then Rita cleared her throat. Immediately, everyone became serious. She looked at the diamond resting in her hand. "You returned it." Tristan nodded. "We said we would. And that's why I'm giving you a chance." Jaden frowned. "A chance?" Rita smiled. "A job." Inside the mansion, the four sat around a large table. Rita slid a folder toward them. Inside were photographs, maps, security layouts, shipping records. Tristan's stomach dropped. "This looks familiar." Rita nodded. "It should." Jaden looked at the pictures. "What is all this?" Rita folded her hands. "Someone stole from me." Tristan blinked. "You just got your diamond back." "Not that." She pointed to another photo. Several crates, marked with her company logo. 3 months ago, someone began stealing shipments from my business." Tristan looked confused. "You want us to call the police?" Rita laughed. "I already did." "And?" "They've gotten nowhere." Jaden leaned forward. "So why us?" Rita pointed directly at Tristan. "Because you got through my security." Then she pointed at Jaden. "And because he's loyal enough to follow you into stupid decisions." Jaden looked offended. "That's not even wrong." Meanwhile, Candace sat on the couch. She couldn't stop thinking about everything. Tristan, the midnight bandit, the money, the lies, the danger. Then her phone buzzed. A text. From Jaden. "Everything is okay. We're just meeting someone." Candace rolled her eyes. She immediately typed back, "You're both idiots." A few seconds later, another message appeared. "Probably." Candace couldn't help smiling. The real problem. Back at the mansion, Rita opened another photograph. This time, neither Tristan nor Jaden laughed. The picture showed a masked figure, dressed completely in black, standing inside a warehouse. The figure looked directly at the camera, almost as if he knew he was being watched. Rita slid the picture across the table. "That's the person who's been stealing from me." Tristan stared. Jaden stared. Then both looked at each other, because they recognized the outfit. It wasn't theirs. There was another thief operating in the city, another bandit, and somehow he was even better than they were. Rita leaned back. "Find him." The room fell silent. Then she smiled. "And I'll make it worth your while." Tristan slowly grinned. Jaden sighed. "We are absolutely not getting paid enough for this." Rita laughed. "That's what makes it fun." And for the first time since arriving at the mansion, Tristan realized this wasn't the end of the Midnight Bandit story. It was only the beginning.